Well, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Layla Lehman, and I am the interim CIO as well as the interim director for BCIT. Thank you for the opportunity to present our capital budget for 27 through 32 today. All right. So I'm going to start with our mission, vision, values. Our mission is to provide sustainable infrastructure to support and enhance city agencies, communities, and businesses to meet city and mayoral goals over the next decade. All agencies, businesses, and residents. All right. Am I good?
Yeah.
All right. All right. To design, build, and implement technology that creates a safe, thriving, and smart city. And our values, which we do this actually at all of our staff meetings twice a month. Our values, I-CARES, innovation and excellence, customer focus.
Sorry,
that's all right.
Thought I had done it the right way. Yeah, it's sharing my whole screen. I don't know.
Because I see it's in the window.
Yeah, but I think because it's this is what I should hire a thing. Guys. Alright, let's try this again. Okay, hopefully this works.
All right. So picking up with our values, I-CARES, innovation and excellence, customer focus, accountability and credibility, respect and inclusion, efficiency, and then safety in the workplace. So these are our services across four main pillars. We have our public-facing services, and you'll hear more about these as we go through the presentation. Our core IT services, city employee services, all three of those are integrated in our capital improvement plan, and then, of course, our administrative arm. Our organizational chart, normally I am the chief of staff for BCIT, so I fall on the right with all of those boxes on the right that are more administrative in nature. And then we have our technical and programmatic aspects. So we have enterprise applications, infrastructure, public safety technology, information security, digital services, broadband and digital equity, 311, and let's see, and IT portfolio management, because we have centralized the IT for the Department of Transportation, Housing and Community Development, and General Services. All right. So just a look at some of our KPIs for this year. I'll highlight just a few of these. So we'll talk a little later about our broadband and digital equity program. Really proud that we have had almost 500,000 free Be More Wi-Fi sessions for the public to have accessed, and I anticipate that number growing vastly in 2026 because we'll have stood up it for fully a calendar year, all of our sites. If I look at some of the other sites, the city is now equipped with hybrid and mobile meeting room solutions all around the downtown campus. You'll also notice several uptime metrics, right? And so one of the things we'll try and draw back to throughout the presentation, one of the things that helps us keep those uptimes is making sure our equipment is refreshed, making sure our systems are current and on current versions, and this capital improvement plan helps us to support those uptimes. So budget overview, if you look at our budget for the current as well as two prior fiscal years, we have both our operating budget and staff allocations as well as our capital allocation. For the current year, our operating budget is $67.4 million with 189 positions. Our capital budget for this year is $6.75 million. Plans that guide. So everything is informed by the mayor's plan, Building a Better Baltimore, and we fall within several pillars of that plan. In addition to the mayor's plan, we develop our own IT plan that runs about 12 to 18 months, and it's across these six strategic priority areas that you see here. So supporting, securing, optimizing critical infrastructure. This goes back to making sure that, again, you're going to hear more about refreshing equipment, investing in more information security tools. Improving the customer service experience, that goes around upgrading a lot of legacy applications for improved customer experiences. The next one is more internal, of cultivating engaged, skilled, and adaptable IT people resources. It's important that we invest in our people so that they have the skill sets to keep up with modern technologies to support the city of Baltimore. Calibrating and cultivating the equity landscape. So a lot of our broadband work falls under here. We also are in the process of launching a municipal ID program for the city of Baltimore. Optimizing IT spend and system efficiency. So again, and I'll speak on this as we go through the presentation, there are opportunities, particularly around when you look at applications, to optimize spend by investing in new applications. And then reimagining the digital landscape, that has a focus towards AI and the investments to make towards investing wisely in AI. I just realized I didn't cover the other two. So we actually also have a specific digital inclusion strategy for the city of Baltimore that runs from 2024 to 2029. We have made great progress on that, and we'll be launching an annual update later this month. And then Reframe Baltimore, which is around the city strategy for vacants. We play a role in that, as does our CIP dollars through our permitting project. Next slide. I'm going in the wrong direction. All right. Agency asset. So IT assets are a little different than a lot of physical assets, right? You'll see on the left a definition of all the things, and not all of those are things that we have as BCIT as assets. Operational technology is actually more so in the agencies than it is us. So an example of that would be, say, traffic control systems. SCADA, an example of that would be wastewater management systems. The ones that we're talking about, and particularly the ones that we have focused on the right-hand side here, data is, it's virtual, but data is an IT asset, and we've quantified it in various ways in the different buckets here. We do have physical assets in addition to virtual assets, so the City Watch camera network that you see across the city is considered part of that. Wireless access points, which is the equipment that allows our laptops to have Wi-Fi, right, in a room. Those are considered physical assets. We also, you'll notice applications is not part of this asset inventory at this point. We're in the process of really putting together a full assessment around the city's application landscape. So that's not fully quantified at this point, but in a future version, I anticipate that being added to this. So recently completed projects, I mentioned investments in IT to make us more efficient, right? So the investment in Unifier, we had 3 separate instances of Unifier for the city of Baltimore. They didn't talk together. They were different versions, some on-premise, some in the cloud. And now those have all been consolidated to one unified instance, really streamlines reporting, allows for a higher executive level view across an organization. And we are currently working with Parks and Recs through, I think they actually are using capital funds to expand this project to them. Radio redundancy. So one of the themes you'll see throughout this presentation is around disaster recovery and, what happens when something goes down, right? The city still needs to, especially for emergency services such as this, be operational. And so that is where one of our key focuses that you'll see within this plan. So a first instance of that around 800 megahertz radios are the ones that the police, fire, they use to communicate for emergency instances. And we were able to establish through capital funding redundancy so that if the primary location that's kind of the heart of those radios goes down and therefore communication, the radios would not be operational, that will no longer happen because we now have a second location. There's a second phase to this because you'll notice this is phase 1 because while the radios now will be fully operational, there are other components of them like some of the specialty applications that fire needs and police needs that would still go down with this even though this project's completed. Data. I mentioned data a little when we were talking inventory. So, data is like crucial, right? Because you need your data, you want to make sure it's secure, you want to make sure it's backed up, and you want to make sure that in a disaster you can recover that data. And so making sure, similar to why we refresh equipment, we also have to refresh how we store our data so that those solutions have the latest technology, the latest supports around cybersecurity, which is, every day there are new things in the landscape that we've got to try and prevent against. So keeping our technology upgraded is key to helping thwart against potential attacks.
Could I ask a question?
Sure.
about that? Do we operate a data center ourselves, or are we on a farm somewhere?
We do outsource that.
All right, thank you.
So projects in progress. I am excited to say that the city's website is in beta. If you go to baltimorecity.gov, you will see a banner on the top of our website, and you can go check out our new website. A couple of key features about that. If anyone's ever tried to pull up baltimorecity.gov on your phone, it is painful. This will solve that problem. It is mobile friendly. It is accessible, which our current website was not. It also mitigates security risks because the outdated legacy platform that it has been on, has opened us up to those potentials as well. So very excited that this project continues to move forward. Financial disclosure system modernization. So we're working with the Office of the Inspector General. Some of this is through capital funds and some of this is through their general funding to replace their existing system. This will help with transparency, increase efficiency, accuracy, and put them on a new modernized platform for this service. GIS modernization. So, again, I'm going to reiterate disaster recovery. Right now, we do not have an easy way to recover from a disaster if our GIS platform were to go down. And so this will be instrumental in making sure that continues to remain operational. We can restore in a much more reasonable time frame, especially, a lot of agencies really depend on GIS for their operations. I think about SNOW and DOT, BPD, it is a critical core service when you really think about IT in the city of Baltimore. The other thing that this will do is ensure that we are utilizing best practices because it has its own test environment, which again is a best practice in IT, and that's not something we currently have available in our current instance. So this will really help us get to a better place, reduce data loss, which has been an issue, and improve availability. Refresh, I've mentioned refresh several times. So keeping our, most hardware goes on a life cycle from 5 to 7 years. So every 5 to 7 years you want to update so that the equipment always is under some sort of support contract and that the technology is by support, I mean continue to be upgraded, right? So if there needs to be a patch because of a security issue, they will continue doing those things. Once it gets unsupported, the vendor no longer pushes those, and that puts us greater at risk for failure, for cyber attack, all of those things. So you will see throughout this presentation various equipment that needs to be refreshed. Switches, I've been before you, my predecessor has been before you in previous times, and we've talked about the airport and data being people, right? So in that analogy, the switch is really those terminals, right? So that helps the data figure out where it's supposed to go. And so making sure that all the switches around the city are operational helps keep all employees being able to work, move, right, doesn't thwart operations. So going into our 27 requests, I've mentioned a little replacement, refresh, so that is a key piece, not only for hardware, but also for software. We have a lot of legacy applications in the city, and so, with those, it's hard to make changes. It is not user-friendly. Things can become unsupported, and so there needs to be continued investment in that. Again, redundancy. So we talked a little bit about Unifier and consolidating under Unifiers. So continuing to identify opportunities for that. Cyber, I've talked about that already. It continues to be a risk and is something that we need to continue to invest in every year as the landscape changes. We need to continue to be proactive and protect ourselves against that. And then again, unsupported infrastructure. While we have made great headway in the past 5 years around getting a lot of things on a refresh cycle, you will see some new items in our 27 to 32 plan that we have not yet been able to refresh. Our equity statement. So again, goes back to our values, who we are, even within our own IT plan. I've mentioned equity. We have inculcated it into our internal and external practices when we are doing, particularly for us, where it applies to is programs like broadband and digital equity, obviously, municipal ID, and application development. So like when we did the website, we made sure to test that out with stakeholders of varying groups for accessibility, different, to make sure that we're implementing an equitable product. This is a summary of our 6-year request. You'll see for this year, the request is for $15.7 million, and we are looking forward to that increase that we will start seeing in FY28 to continue to invest in technology. So moving into what this will be for. This is an ongoing project. We anticipate adding an additional $2 million in 27 to continue this modernization project. So again, this is going to be better for the taxpayers and be a more efficient system, transparent system, user-friendly, and for staff, it will help to increase their efficiency and effectiveness and really reduce some of the manual processes that people do now. Refresh, we've talked about refresh. So those wireless access points, this continues to be an investment that we need to make, and you'll always see this as part of our budget. Broadband and digital equity. So this is through Housing Authority of Baltimore City capital funding, but is a really great project that we're currently working on in 8 public housing sites to wire each unit with internet to provide low-cost, affordable internet service to residents that's actually wired, and we're really excited about that. Another refresh. So this is one of the ones I'm mentioning. You haven't necessarily seen all of these refreshes before. Internet router refresh is a new one for us, but a critical one. So if this were to fail, none of us would be able to use it. Like, it would just black out everything online, right? You couldn't get to baltimorecity.gov. You couldn't get to a lot of the applications that users use. And so it's critical to make sure that we refresh this equipment to ensure the availability of those services. Cybersecurity, I've talked about this before. We're going to continue to make investments in cybersecurity tools to, particularly the lens for 27 is around data and being able to tag our data, know what is HIPAA, know what is CGIS, and so that when we use our data, we can easily make sure that it is protected under the right policies by doing more of an automated tagging. We also are looking at tools that will help us enhance our security as we look to AI and how we're going to use AI for the future. Unmanaged network hubs. We have had this on here and continue to work on this and continue to need to invest in it. This is a security thing as well as a hardware issue. And by security, I mean we do not want a piece of equipment where someone can just plug a device in, because that is a security risk, right? It could do malicious things to the city of Baltimore. So really ensuring that all of these devices are managed helps reduce risk, again, for the city of Baltimore. Salesforce. So Salesforce is the customer relationship management system that we use for 311 that sends service requests to each of the agencies that residents submit. So one of the things that we've identified as a key project to improve our customer service for the city of Baltimore is migrating to a new instance of Salesforce that will provide us with more flexibility, allow us to make more changes, better changes, have better integrations for some of the pain points that the city has faced. So this is around the public safety realm and continuing to invest in the radio system and ensuring that we have that full backup. City Watch. So we've talked before about the cameras, right? And the great news is because of the investments of capital, all of the cameras are on a refresh cycle. And there's actually I wish I could remember it right off the top of my head, but about 5 years ago, before any camera was on a refresh cycle, the uptime of cameras was like 82%. It is now at like 98% when you look at it on a monthly basis because all of the cameras are on a refresh cycle, so you don't have things just breaking all the time unexpectedly. Now, what we need to invest in and what this will do is there's all this infrastructure behind the camera. It's not just the camera. It's all the other pieces that are connected to that camera that then feed into the master system, and all of that needs to be refreshed too. So this investment will help us make sure that the full system is fully operational and improves availability. Network access control. This is another continuation project, and this crosses that span of, it's more what we'll call an infrastructure project on our side, but one of its main goals is around security, right? And making sure it will vastly help us secure our network and have better visibility of what's on someone's computer, even when it's not on a City of Baltimore computer, even if it is not necessarily on the city's intranet, right? Because sometimes I could be on my home intranet with my City of Baltimore computer and can get infections that way because I don't necessarily have the same protections, right? So getting network access control will help us get better management of around some of these threats. Application infrastructure and integration upgrade. So what we know, and what I've said, is that there are a lot of legacy applications out there. And some of these are specifically listed in different projects. There are others, as we're putting together the application inventory that I mentioned a little while ago when I was talking about the assets, that, as we put that inventory together, there are a lot of others that need to be put in the pipeline for replacement, upgrade, that type of thing. So this is the project that will be used to help support that effort. Computer-aided dispatch replacement. This is a legacy system that is in need of that. I see you shaking your head, but I think everyone can agree is in need of replacement. So very excited that we weren't able to do it for FY27, but we've put that investment starting in FY28 to replace the CAD system. It carries over a little over into FY29, the funding, but very excited to move forward with that. It will, beyond it just replacing a legacy system, it also will be more reliable, more efficient, better, just a better system with more options for us.
Can I ask you a quick question about that?
Of course. Yeah.
When you say you can't do it in 27,
yes.
Because there's not money, or because as a practical matter, you just simply could not do the things necessary to deploy it in 27?
Thank you for the question. So several years ago, we had an initial CIP project for that helped us do the planning of it. So with that money, what we did was hire a vendor, and it helped us do the planning and develop the RFP. So we have an RFP that is ready to be issued. The challenge we have for 27 is funding. Since the minimum the actual system would cost is $9.5 million, and our allocation that exceeds our full allocation for next year. There's no way that we could, when we looked at other projects, there was no way we really could slot it in until 28.
Sure, quick question. Just how old is the system? Can you tell that to everybody?
Yeah, so it is, I want to say 2015 or 2016, yeah.
What I'm trying to sort of discern here, we could ask this question about literally anything that's not in the current budget year,
of course,
but is in a future budget year, which is why is it not in the current budget year? And sometimes it might be because of what I said, which is and this would be a responsible thing. I could put it in the budget year, but I can't spend it, and then you're just going to tell me I didn't spend it, so why? But the other explanation is what you said, which is I probably could spend it, but I just don't think I can allocate based upon what I have.
Yeah.
And then the question becomes, who's the decision maker about whether that is important enough or more important than other things that should allow you to say, let's move it into 27. And I don't know, Sarah, I don't know how that question gets asked or exactly by whom, partly by us, presumably. But, and you can't ask that about every item, but the question is like, what item? And I thought maybe this system that says this could be an additional priority for 9.5, meaning for 27?
Yes.
Would be like, was a little bit of the way the system was designed this year. And it may be simply that while it's resonant, 911 calls, and it's important, it may be that really in the hierarchy of things, you're like, you know what, 28's just fine, let's not have a big, to-do about it. So I'm just looking to sort of disaggregate, tease it out a little bit. Can you help?
Yeah, so I will try. One is, I think, when we, in addition to this commission, right, I would say the city administrator's office is key to informing ultimately, right, what should be that priority. For us, one of the reasons, if I were to put partial funding in, because I couldn't put 9.5 million in FY27 because literally that exceeds our budget, right? If I were to put partial funding, say for several $1,000,000, it wouldn't give me the opportunity to initiate the RFP still until FY28 because I wouldn't have the full funding to issue the RFP.
Well, I think we're decidedly trying to avoid that. Like, that's the new world order, which is you're not supposed to put $3 million in this year so you can put $6 million in next year and do it next year. It's like, just put the $9 million in next year. So
Right.
thank you for that. But I'm just trying to figure out where the priorities are being set. I also would note, and Sarah, I'll call this to your attention, for whatever reason, the public housing broadband upgrade, which is shown in BCIT's budget is shown in BCIT's budget here as an additional priority item, $4,351,000, is shown in the mayoralty as a base budget item. So it's in a different department, and we'll just call it above the line and not below the line. So I don't know what's happening there.
There's a couple of technical reasons for that. The project in BCIT is a reserve project, and the project in the mayoralty is an active project. So we had them make the request in mayoralty, but when we make recommendations, we'll set up an active project in BCIT and move it to BCIT. So apologize for that confusion. The reason it's showing as base budget is because it is not competing for general funds and general obligation bonds. The source of funds is revenue from the Housing Authority of Baltimore City. So they have an MOU with BCIT to provide the funding for that. So that's not something we need to make a decision about in terms of a trade-off for something else that would be funded with general funds or GEO bonds. So you'll see all of the state requests, all of the federal requests, other sources just listed as base budget.
So we're almost a pass-through for that from HABC?
Yes. I don't know why it's doing this again. Did you want to add anything, or is that?
So yes, it is their funding, right? It is specifically for this use. I think, Chris, is there anything? I'll introduce Chris Harrington.
That's fine. I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
But is it also fair to say that, just for tidiness, that in your spreadsheet, whatever slide it was, it really should say base budget, not additional priority, so that it ends up sort of...
We changed that. So they had originally submitted it as additional, but for our housekeeping, we changed it. So she may not have known.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm just trying to keep track, and early in the process,
Very keen
I'm
eyes, yes.
trying to get my mental framework organized. So, okay, thank you.
All right. There you go. So moving on to broadband network upgrade, this again goes to broadband and digital equity. So we used ARPA funding to implement that project, and all of the network that supports the Wi-Fi network, but it is important to keep that on a refresh cycle, so we have included that in our schedule for this 6-year planning. upgrade hardware, storage hardware active. So this refers to end-of-life hardware and storage that is over at the city's data center. This is, I believe, the first time we've actually put this in our budget again, a newer one around refreshing equipment to ensure that we continue to have things that are updated to reduce outages, to improve security. Cybersecurity systems upgrade. So this the distinguishing factor between this and the one I talked about a little earlier, which was specific cybersecurity projects. So as I mentioned before, a lot of infrastructure related projects actually support securing our environment. And so what this provides is there are additional things we will need to upgrade over this time that are not specific items that would be used within this funding source. The towers. So we talked about the radios a little before and the criticality of emergency radios. If the towers that support that 800 megahertz system aren't also upgraded and particularly the equipment that's on them, then those are other opportunities for failure and non-availability of radios. So this is new, and this is something we're looking to catch up now and investing in upgrading these. We talked a little bit about GIS before and the active project we have for this. So there is more work to be done on that to get our GIS system to be optimal and really leverage everything the best way that we can, right? So as you can see, this project will increase the accuracy and monitoring around vacant housing and construction activities, reduce time to identify conflicts among permit types. So it does have true operational impact. We did talk about City Watch before. We continue to replace those cameras on a 5 to 7 year life cycle, so money is included to continue those replacements. More upgrades. So again, there is all this equipment that underpins our systems that needs to be refreshed. So the infrastructure platforms refers to, we talked about switches a little before. Again, if I go back to the airport, that's like your terminals for data. Servers, right, where data is stored, and then the actual storage. All of that needs to be refreshed in order to keep uptime, reduce outages. Public safety technology. So again, there's unanticipated things that are going to come up in the next 6 years, and this allows us to address those upgrade needs as they arise in the public safety realm. Speed and reliability of public safety communications. So this goes back to the radios and the radios themselves and the need to keep them on a refresh cycle as well. Policy issues. So again, if I kind of take a step back, right, and we've talked about some of these themes throughout this, we have had a much greater investment in IT over the past 5 to 6 years. And through that, we've been able to put things on a refresh cycle, invest in information security tools, upgrade our applications, right? That investment we need to continue to make in this city to continue to protect against cybersecurity threats, make sure that we are providing our residents with the efficient, transparent systems that are accessible, and ensure there's not outdated legacy infrastructure sitting out there. And I will conclude with, again, it's important that we have that secure, robust infrastructure. I'm going to keep, iterating on refreshes, disaster recovery, and focusing on making sure our system, we can recover as disasters occur, because things will arise. One area I didn't talk a lot about today, but that needs more investment is operational technology. That is not necessarily an area that we've done as much in, and not something that's directly in our authority, but that is an opportunity for and need for investment. And then, digital services, right? So how do we continue to use innovative technology to better support our residents? And with that, we're just at the appendix and the slide, so I'll open it up if you guys have any other questions for me.
Questions from the commission?
I have a quick and easy question. The 19,000 Chromebooks, are those for agencies or are we supporting the school system?
Oh, thank you for the question. So we got a grant from the state to deploy Chromebooks to, there's certain designees. It's students, but it's also families that meet certain income requirements. The elderly also is one of the target groups, reentry population.
Okay, good.
Thank you for the question. Yes.
Thank you for the presentation. Obviously, great need in IT. It's a landscape that's constantly evolving,
It is.
and it's great to see you putting the funds to good use. My question is just about the free Be More Wi-Fi.
Yes.
Can you just educate me a little bit on like how that program works? I've seen the signs in certain locations, and I'm basically just interested in kind of how it works, where it comes from, and if there's plans to expand it.
Great question. Thank you, and for the opportunity to plug it as well. So through ARPA money, we were able to invest in free Be More Wi-Fi networks for all of the rec centers. So any rec, there's like 2 or 3 that were under construction, but other than that, right, all 48 rec centers, you can access free Be More Wi-Fi, and it's not just in the building. There's a perimeter outside as well. We also did 8 senior centers, I want to say. So that similarly situated both in and outside of it, they can access those services. We also piloted 1 Main Street over in Pennsylvania Avenue. So like all along that corridor, you can access free Be More Wi-Fi as well.
That's where I noticed the sign.
Yeah, I was excited to hear you notice the signs. So we are looking for opportunities to expand that, but right now, given that ARPA funding is ending, what we're currently more focused on at the moment is making sure that we can sustain what we have, both staffing-wise, right? Because, the capital allocation will provide the refresh equipment, but to keep that network operational, we also just have to have engineers on staff, right? And a manager on staff to make sure that that network just gets maintained throughout time.
Great. Very cool. Thank you.
Thank you.
Others? Thanks, and thank you, I'm sorry. Thank you for your quite evident experience and professionalism. I'm sure the city is benefiting from it tremendously, so we appreciate it. Look forward to looking at this and getting back to you with any questions.